Now, my name is Dr. Ron House. What I'd like to talk today about is eating well. You must know to look in the mirror and say, wow. Now, the key to eating healthy is to avoid any food that has a TV commercial. A new study from the Institute of Health at the University of Washington makes for depressing reading. The top line message is that for all of us, that tobacco smoking, gets a bad rap, but factors associated with poor diet now kills far more people each year than lighting up a cigarette. Based on the stats in 2010, nearly 680,000 people died from dietary habits versus just 465,000 from smoking. Now, I'm not saying smoking is okay, but a poor diet is worse. Now, it is becoming increasingly obvious that we have a massive food epidemic in the world. Childhood obesity is soaring. Lifestyle diseases are taking millions of lives each year, and the statistics continue to worsen. And this isn't only in the U.S., however, it is worse in the U.S., but even in Great Britain. The Prime Minister did a government review of food policy and developed a new strategy on tackling obesity. Now the study includes grim predictions that if we continue, not only in Great Britain, but in the U.S., with the current health habits, 60% of the population is expected to be overweight by 2050. Compared to 28% today. 70% girls and 55% boys are expected to be overweight or obese in 40 years' time. Now the report goes on to discuss children on average eat only 2.5 portions of fruit and vegetables per day, half the recommended intake. They also eat 50% more added sugar than the recommended maximum and 25% more saturated fats. And again, the facts are here. Now, unfortunately, in 1985, Michigan did not, give data. But if you look, even 2010, on the average, 28 to 30% of people are obese. And what obese means is their body weight is over 20% of the normal. Now, what is our goal with sharing these micro and macro statistics? Well, it is to help you take personal responsibility on a micro level in order to change the way you and your family might be eating, in order to have you and your entire family look in the mirror and say, wow. Now, this report is not focused on only the material aspects of eating well or looking good, but rather it is really a strategy for you to pursue in order to live with vitality, where the byproduct consists of the following. You should, and everybody should, have abundance of energy, high levels of self-esteem, complexion that people talk about, positive spirit, and a positive outlook on life. You should want you and your family to be the poster of a healthy family in your community. And you know what? You should be someone who looks in the mirror and says, damn, I look good. Now, my hope and my desire is that you take this report seriously and apply these strategies to your life, because the damaging effect of poor nutrition are devastating, and the last thing I want to happen to you is to have a limited life by the choices you are making today. So let's dive in, open our mind to a new possibility, and begin to eat well. Now, it's important eating well. You must now and be able and should be able to look in the mirror and say, wow. Now, the first strategy I want to talk about is eating like a caveman or woman. Now, during the Paleolithic period, of course, many thousands of years ago, people ate primarily vegetables and fruit, nuts, roots, and meat, which varied depending on the season and availability. Now, based upon scientific research examining the types and quantities of food our hunters and gatherers or ancestors ate, the foundation of the paleo diet is lean meat, including ostrich, bison, or any free-ranging animal, as well as organ meat, seafood, fresh fruit, and non-starchy vegetables, a far cry from the standard American diet. Today, these staples have been largely replaced with refined sugar, high fructose corn syrup, cereal, bread, potatoes, pasteurized milk products. Most Americans eat a much narrower selection of fruits, vegetables, roots, and nuts, and in lesser quantities than our caveman ancestors. Now, a study by researchers from the University of California had an out-of-shape volunteer eat a paleo diet for 2 weeks. Now, this is only 14 days. In that time, their blood pressure levels decreased, as did their levels of cholesterol, by the average of 30 points, which the research compared to the type of drops you would experiencing by taking statins or drugs for 6 months. Their levels of triglycerides also improved. Now, are you wondering what you should eat? Now, try this basic list for now and keep on reading. There's so much information on the internet. There's so much information, in books. In fact, there's a lot of great books. There's a great book called It Starts With What You Eat. Another great book, which is relatively new, is called The Bulletproof Diet. But to start off, focus on eating grass-fed, free-ranging meat. Now, the reason why this is important because grass-fed meat has omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids are what you find in fish or seafood. This helps fuel your brain and increase circulation. Animals that are fed grains or corn have omega-6, which is damaging to your body. You should eat fresh veggies and fruit in moderation. And I'm going to stress fruit in moderation. A lot of people don't realize, or maybe they realize, but they don't understand, what it means. But fruit has fructose. Now, fructose is considered what's called nature's sugar. Now, too much fructose in your body, when it's broken down, actually fuels bad bacteria in your gut. So on the average, you should only have 25 grams of fructose in your diet, or equivalent to 2 medium-sized apples a day. Eggs. Eggs are great for you, especially from free-ranging organic chickens. Nuts and seeds. Also healthy oils. Now again, oils are fat, but they are good fat. Olive oil, walnut, flaxseed, macadamia, avocado, coconut oil. Those are all great to cook with, as well as consume. Things you shouldn't eat. You shouldn't eat cereal grains. In fact, most of them are refined, and even the ones that aren't refined, they're not healthy for you. Legumes, including peanuts. Legumes increase inflammation in your body. Inflammation increases heart disease and cancer, as well as many other diseases. Dairy, unless it is non-pasteurized and free-ranging. Refined sugars. Potatoes, which basically turn into sugar in your body. Processed foods, refined vegetable oils. And again, the list goes on as far as what's healthy and what's not healthy to eat. But this gets you started. Now it is so important, that we also understand that it's not just the calories you take in that is so important. So many diets claim that fewer calories you take in, the more weight loss you'll have. However, different foods do different things to your body. If this was true, that the less calories you had, if you took all your calories in with high fructose corn syrup, you would not lose weight, guaranteed. But you would gain it. And again, unfortunately, our society has assumed this diet of fast food. Fast food is extremely processed. The next time you think about eating a burger, or let's put it this way, next time you're by McDonald's, buy a Happy Meal. Don't put it in the fridge, but put it in your closet, away from where your dog will get it. Now check on that Happy Meal 3 months later. I guarantee it. There will be no mold. In fact, that burger will look much like it did when you bought it, except for the grease crawling up the side. And if bacteria or mold can't grow in that burger, what type of nutrition do you think it'll give your body? Now, there are a lot of things that you can make that are paleo friendly or healthy. Just a couple of breakfast ideas. You can make your own granola. You can go on, a paleo granola site. You can make Italian scrambled eggs. Basically scrambled eggs with, vegetables and meat. One of my family's favorites is, pancakes, paleo pancakes. Basically you take 2 eggs, put in a blender with a banana, and then it makes a pancake batter, and you fry it on the pan just like you would with coconut oil. Lunch ideas. One of the quickest ways and most easiest is just making stir-fried vegetables with coconut oil, with a can of wild-caught salmon in it. Or you can make a taco salad. You can also make paleo chicken fingers. Salmon cake. Lamb chops. In fact, you can make about anything paleo. Some snack ideas. You can cut up vegetables and eat them raw. Or even roast vegetables with coconut oil. You can have mixed nuts, minus the peanuts. You can make paleo bars. For dessert, you can have ice cream made from coconut milk. You can make raw coconut squares. You can make paleo bars. There's so much that you can make that is tasty that your family will like. I guarantee it. Now, strategy 2 is never be hungry and never be full. Now, there are many opinions on this concept and studies that prove the importance of small meals throughout the day versus 1 large meal or 3 large meals. Now, in my opinion, and something I personally employ, and a strategy that has helped hundreds of people over the years, is eating on a regular basis. So you never go hungry, but you're never totally full. What this does, it keeps your metabolism burning throughout the day. Much like if you build a fire, you don't want it to burn out. You want to keep feeding it fuel throughout the day. In fact, what this does is it maintains your metabolism and keeps your energy levels high. Now, research analysis, in fact, from the Academy of Nutrition Dietetics, has synthesized years of research on adult weight management from nutrition guidelines. One topic that they've talked about is that eating 4 to 5 meals a day will reduce weight significantly. In fact, eating less than 3 meals a day increases the risk of obesity. Now again, this works different for everyone. You need to find out what works best for you. But again, common sense, as well as the majority of people eating many small meals, is better than eating a few large. Now, strategy 3 is drink more water. There really is only one healthy liquid. Now I know people often say they don't like water, but it's time to get over and focus on health benefits of liquid. In fact, I'm going to read something from Dr. Joe Mercola, which many of you, if you don't know who Joseph Mercola is, he's an amazing medical doctor that constantly strives towards improving health naturally. But what he says is many fail to realize how crucial an issue water is. It is his strong belief that the single most important intervention the majority of Americans can make in their physical health will be to stop drinking all sodas and juices and replace them with healthy, promoting, pure water. This is such an important issue due to the fact that nearly 75% of the U.S. is overweight, and the number one source of calories is sugar from soda. Needless to say, diet sodas are even worse. Of course, water is essential for your survival. Every day your body loses water through urine and sweat. He continued to say this fluid needs to be replenished for a while so you can survive for months without food. Without water, you won't last even a few days. If you get the fluid water replacement issue right, then you have made the most important and powerful steps you can do to take control of your health as well as your weight. Now it's recommended that you drink 1 gallon of water per day. Now, if you truly can't handle the simplicity of water, then considering adding some, fruit, such as an orange slice, or even better, lemon slice. In fact, lemons are cleansing in the body. This is such an important step, again, to look in the mirror and say, wow. As well as people don't realize how many wasted calories they consume by drinking soda. Strategy 4. Green stimulation or green smoothies or organic coffee. Now, I'm going to challenge a lot of people's belief when I say coffee. In fact, nutritionists have gone back and forth on coffee. Most research, though, is now showing that really coffee is very healthy. It's very high in antioxidants. But not all coffee is created equal. In fact, unfortunately, most store-bought coffee, produced in large quantities, have mold in them. And mold is toxic. You want a coffee, that is processed in small batches, something, that is organic. Fatigue is the number one daily complaint among Americans. Using coffee to combat this is not bad. Caffeine is a strong stimulant. It will deliver you a burst of energy, as well as improve focus, memory, and performance. However, it is important you understand too much coffee will decrease your B complex storehouse, which inevitably decreasing B complex or B vitamins will decrease your energy. In fact, I already mentioned it. I mean, one of the best ways to start your day off is the bulletproof coffee that I mentioned earlier, which again is a cup of coffee in a blender with 2 tablespoons of free-ranging grass-fed butter and a coconut extract. In fact, if you blend this, again, you gotta blend it. You just can't melt it. It will amaze you on the taste, as well as it'll amaze you on how well it'll fill you up. Now, again, there are alternatives. In fact, a great healthy alternative is green smoothies. And I think most of you have already heard of this before. You know, a green smoothie is high in antioxidants. It also has nutrition and the vitamins to sustain you to your next meal. Again, you know, there are many recipes online. You just have to find one that you prefer. I personally prefer one that's easy for me to make. You can go online. A great website is simplegreensmoothies.com. Now, lastly, and probably most importantly, especially if you eat as a family, is be creative. Your diet should never get stale. It should actually be exactly the opposite. We always recommend to make this a team effort for your entire family so everyone can feel a sense of contribution, you know, to create a healthy family unit. I find that my children love to partake in cooking, especially healthy cooking, when they know that they're doing something good for their body. And quite honestly, it's very easy, you know, to make paleo food. You know, we've made everything from paleo pizza, you know, to ice cream, to chicken fingers. And the other thing I have found, and a lot of other people have found, is you can make, you know, 5 meals on a Sunday and freeze them. So it's very easy to take out during the week, you know, that we can eat healthy in our active and hectic lifestyles. Now, in closing, again, the intention of this report is to open your eyes and mind to the truth around nutrition. The number of fad diet and programs is leading people down a path where their health is compromised immensely. And we will not just sit here and watch this happen. And again, if you don't believe me, just go into your local bookstore and look at all the diet books out there. Now, you would think with all these diet books, obesity would be decreasing, but it's not. Contrary, it's going up immensely. And again, I'm just going to leave you with a couple myths. And again, these are myths. You know, whole wheat is a healthy food and essential part of a balanced diet. Wrong. Many of you have already heard, you know, what gluten does to your body. Gluten creates inflammation in your gut. Now, some people are more sensitive to it than others. However, for everyone who eat bread, who eat wheat, gluten is inflammatory. And it will lead or can lead to disease. Eating fat makes you fat. So if you want to lose weight, you need to eat less fat. Now again, this is absolutely wrong. Eating the right types of fat can actually improve your health. You know, eating fats such as coconut oil, avocado, you know, they actually will improve your health. Your brain is 70% fat. Your body heals and repairs itself with fat. You know, eating the wrong fat can kill you. You know, myth 3. You know, a high protein diet increases the strain on your kidneys and raises the risk of kidney disease. Now, yes, you need to be careful that you don't eat too much meat. You mean a diet full of only meat is not healthy for you. However, high protein, good meat from free-ranging animals is only going to increase your health. Protein is the building block for DNA. And it's not the protein that'll affect your kidneys. It's the fat that affects your kidneys as well as liver. Now, myth 4, and I already mentioned it, all calories are not created equal. It really matters what type of food you're eating. The calories from a Snickers bar does not equal the calories from a stir-fried coconut oil with meat in it. As well as, I already mentioned, it's not just the people, that have celiac disease or digestive problems that should stray away from gluten. We all should. Now again, you need to hear the truth because there's nothing more important than your ability to live with vitality. Now again, my goal is not to scare you with this report. Our goal is not to create more stress. Our goal is not to prevent you from enjoying yourself, because eating well is fun, but can require some work. Our goal is to help you become aware of what you can look like in the mirror and say, wow, without compromising anything, because eating well should be fun, rewarding, and exciting, not only for you, but your entire family. As well, it's important to understand we are here for you because our single focus is to improve the quality of your life and the health of every person we encounter. And that is why we provide lifestyle classes. That is why we focus on improving how well your body functions via the nervous system. Your nervous system is what allows your body to adapt to the stress we're under. As long as your nervous system is functioning properly and you're giving your body what it needs to heal and adapt, you will maintain health. With the proper diet and the proper nervous system, as well as how you eat and how you think, if you do all that well, your body is designed to live 120 years. But it starts today. And right now, I want us to focus on our diet, your diet, so we can be healthy. Now, thank you for listening to this report. Now, there's a lot of information I shared today, as well as a lot more information I can share and would love to share with you. So when you come in our office, if you have questions, or if you would like a consultation, feel free to ask myself or any of the other doctors at House Family Chiropractic. Thank you, and we appreciate you.